In this module, we'll explore going from the rough cut to the fine cut in a narrative project. In part 1 of this series, we created the select cut here. You can see we have 3 layers of video. We've gone through all our media deciding which one was okay, good, and gold. Remember, some of these clips had multiple takes on them. So the wisest decision would be to make sure that you put each of these takes in here individually. So we're going to start by creating a new rough cut sequence. So we'll use just any clip here to create that sequence. I'll use this Ariel's clip. Right click on it, and I'm going to say new sequence from clip. All right, let's rename that. We'll call this rough cut. And I'm going to go ahead and move that to my sequences bin. Now we're going to be able to pull stuff from here directly into the rough cut by creating our pancake timeline. So the way we do that is we just grab right in here, just on the line there, you'll see it when it turns blue. We're going to drag it down to the bottom drop zone here. And that's all there is to creating the pancake timeline. You might want a little more real estate to work with, so I'm going to stretch this up here so I can actually see my clips here that I'm working with. And in the rough cut, we've got that clip that we used to create it, so I'm just going to delete that. So we have a clean rough cut. So now that we've got our pancake timeline created, let's look at the script and see what we need to do. So we're going to start with an exterior, and then we're going to move into a montage. So in that montage, we have the doctor and the nurse preparing for the surgery, looking over x-rays and stuff like that. And then they're going to actually perform the surgery there. So let's look at what we need to do here in the rough cut. So you've gone in and you've put rough, very rough in and out points around each take that you wanted. And we want to start with the best that we have. So looking at this right here, we have, this was what I considered gold, an exterior shot here. So I've already set my in and out points on that. I'm just going to drag that down into the timeline. Now notice it just kind of puts everything on channel 1 right now. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. I just want to kind of start putting stuff in chronological order. Now notice you have a whole bunch of clips here, and they're probably not in chronological order at the moment. So to make sure that we don't reuse a clip more than once, I'm going to go ahead every time I drop one of these in here, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to label it. I'm going to make that violet so it's a different color than the rest of the clips in your select sequence. And by the time you're done with your select sequence, you're going to have mostly purple through here, you know, that you've gone through and you've made your changes. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the end of that right there. So let's find some shots that are kind of preparatory for the surgery, where they're, you know, doing diagnosis type stuff here. Well, there's them looking at some x-rays. That might be good. I'll go ahead and drag that down in here. And don't forget to label that. Come up here, I will label that I have used that. So now that's purple up here. Notice it didn't make it purple down here. If I had labeled it first, then it would be purple down here. So I'm going to go to the end of that. And let's see. Let's find something else that looks diagnostic. Maybe I'm looking at this jar of stuff here. Or maybe just, I don't know. Yeah, that might be something there. I might use that. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in there just in case I like it later. Again, I'm working from the okay pile now, so always, you know, start with your best ones. I mean, we've got this x-ray, and then there wasn't a whole lot of really great stuff in here, but it'll be usable for this montage here. Okay, we've got them looking at something there, and let's see. Let's find something that will transition us to the actual surgery itself, maybe. I think I remember, yeah, this pump thing down here. I'm going to go ahead and label that first. And you'll see what happens when I make that purple first. Then I drop it down in my timeline and see it is purple there as well. So that'll be kind of our transition shot into the surgery itself. And let's see, we want maybe getting ready for the surgery or just beginning the surgery. We got a couple of different takes here. This one was up in my gold area. I like that because it's got some action going on in the background there. So I'll go ahead and label that one purple, and I will drag this down to here. Got some of that going on. There we go. Maybe we can find a shot of just a kind of that focuses more on Janet on the table. Let's see if we can find one like that. There's one. I'll just use this for now. Oh, let me label it first. Label, violet, and drop that in there. Okay. So you're going to be the one putting into your montage here, so you do it the way you want to do it. But this is kind of how I would probably start this one out. And again, we're not going to use any of the audio from this, so we're going to be deleting that later, so don't worry about hearing the director and all that sort of thing. All right, so now let's jump into what's happening in Janet's room as our dialogue scene. So we know that Bob speaks first, then Janet, then the doctor. Okay, so let's find where Bob starts talking, and let's see if there's any gold stuff of that first part. Let's see. We've got a couple of okay takes, and we've got a good take here. This one's one I think we're going to go with. So I'm going to go ahead and label that purple there, violet, and we'll drop that in there. So after you've gone through and dropped in all your gold takes and got all your lines in here, you're going to notice you've got some duplication. Like once you've got your master shot in there, they go through the entire dialogue, and the same with all the doctor's lines and all of Janet's lines and Bob's lines. What we need to do now is kind of go through it and cut out the extra lines. Now, we're not talking about going in and choosing any different angles or anything like that. We're just pulling the lines at this point. So now I'm going to go through and just make sure everybody says everything just once. So let's take a look at this one here.
Action.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
Okay, so we've reached the end of that dialogue there. I'm probably just going to go ahead and use my W key to get rid of the tail end of that shot there. And
Action!
obviously we don't need the action part there, so maybe I'll just use my Q key to get rid of that beginning. And we're going to move this stuff around. All right, and then I'll use my W key, get rid of that part there. Here's the doctor, that's going to overlap here. Okay, he starts talking in this master shot here.
The results of your test.
I'm not sure I want that part of his line.
The results of your test came back, and I have some.
See, they kind of rush through the dialogue in this here, so I might just use just the beginning of that. This is just my take. You can do it any way you want.
Here's the doctor.
Actually, before he even starts talking, that's probably all I'm going to use of that shot, that master shot. I was just kind of showing the geographic relationship of him to the bed there. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the rest of that shot. And let's listen to what we got here.
And action.
Now we don't need the action part there. I'm just going to go ahead and use my Q key, get rid of that beginning there.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
When's
Okay, now I know I'm going to come back to the doctor here when I start actually doing the edit, but I'm just going to, for now, I'm just going to pull out that part there.
And action.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
All right, and then I'll get rid of the beginning of that shot. And so, as you can see, we're kind of building it.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
when is it?
I'm afraid it's, you have a bronchial carcinoma.
What's that?
What is that?
It's lung cancer. And I can refer you to an oncologist to go over some treatment options.
No. No, that's not possible. I came in for a cough I've had for a couple of weeks.
I am sorry.
Okay, so she's got this dawning realization happening there. And then we start hearing the director start talking. All right, so I would just go ahead and get rid of the tail end of that shot there.
I can't do double shifts.
Okay, and then we got Bob's final line here. And after Bob's line, I thought I might actually end this scene with this aerial here. Which one was it? It was in the gold that I liked. I liked that one there. That's it. So I would drag that down to end this scene. So after Bob's finished talking, and we're coming out of the scene. So that's like my last shot right there. So let's take this rough cut a little bit further. Let's go ahead and rename these tracks in the rough cut to kind of indicate who's on what track. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this track. The first person that talked was Bob, and in the V2, I think I'm going to put Janet on that one. And the doctor is on V3, so I've got to expand that up a little bit, and I will rename that doctor. Okay, and we'll do the same with the dialogue as well. Track 1 will be Bob. Track 2 is Janet. And track 3 is the doctor. Okay, so we're really roughing this thing up. So let's add some audio tracks to this here, because we know we're going to need a couple of sound effects tracks. So I'm going to go up to Sequence, Add Tracks, and we want, let's see, no more video tracks. I think we're good on video tracks at the moment. Then let's see, we need some audio tracks. I need 3 sound effects tracks and let's say 3 music tracks. So I'm going to put 6 more audio tracks after the doctor's track, which is track 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and rename those while we're at it. One way you can expand these all at once is just kind of hover over one, hold down Option, and scroll it open. All right, I'll rename that one Sound Effects 1, SFX 1, etc., etc. Again, hover over it, rename it. And you get the idea. Now we're not going to go ahead and actually add any music or sound effects at this point. We're just making room for it. So I'm going to call this one Music 1. Okay, so this is pretty much all you would need for your rough cut. We're going to go ahead and when we start in our fine cut, we're going to split these off into their own tracks, as they should be anyway, and then we'll move on from there. But now that you've pretty much completed your rough cut, go ahead and save and turn in this particular version of your Premiere Pro project file to Brightspace. Make sure that you have your SLX sequence still open. You got your Pancake timeline going on. Do that and turn in this version of your rough cut. Okay, now with our rough cut roughly laid out and turned in, we're going to go ahead and start on our fine cut. So let's go ahead and close our selects sequence there. And with our rough cut, I'm going to start my fine cut. I'm going to go ahead and come up to Edit and duplicate that rough cut. And I will rename that Fine Cut. Double click and make sure I have that in my timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and over to the rough cut and close that one out completely. Now I can work just within the fine cut sequence. All right, I've got some stuff to work on first here. Let's break them out into the audio portions here. Now at the beginning, we've got this montage here that actually doesn't have audio or usable audio in it. It isn't until we get to here that we actually are starting to use the audio. So what I'm going to do with all this stuff here, I'm going to select all the earlier stuff. Go ahead and right click. I'm going to unlink those clips there. And let's just get rid of all that audio. I'll just hit delete on that. All right. And let's get this other stuff kind of on the tracks that it needs to be on. There's Bob talking. He is on Bob's track. And then this one doesn't have, this is kind of more of a sound effects track. There's nothing in it. It's just a visual. I'm going to go ahead and unlink that at the moment. I have a feeling we're going to move this one actually in the timeline, kind of move it around. And here's the doctor coming in. We've got a little sound of the blinds themselves, so I might leave that in for now. You can barely hear Janet talking there. But now the doctor speaks here. Let's put the doctor on his track down here. I'm going to highlight it, hold down my Option key, and push the down arrow key twice to put him on his proper track. And let's see, Janet is next. I want her lines on her track. And Bob's lines are last there. So at least they're roughed in at this point. With the opening montage, we can't really do anything with that until we choose some music that will really work there. So maybe this might be a good time to actually go find some music. So in the APM music library, maybe I'll start by searching for something obvious. Medical drama. So you'll get all kinds of different hits on this. But what I did want to point out is also you'll see things called stems. Now these are pieces of the music. So you can download the stems and it'll give you just the beats, just the effects, or just different instruments, and you might be able to use stuff from there. Things I want to look for on this is I want kind of shorter stuff, maybe something for just to get us into the scene. You know, I have this shot of the exterior of the building. Maybe we're coming out of a commercial, the way I see it. And I want what we call just kind of a bumper kind of drone or something that'll lead into, just kind of drone over and into the next piece of music, which is going to be the diagnostic and surgery portion of it. So those are things I'm going to be looking for there. And then with the dialogue scene, you know, we're obviously going to have to find something that's a little sad, because we have some sad news being used here. And then we have to also come out of that. I've got this aerial coming out of it, so maybe we find a piece of music that has a nice ending that I can use just to come out of it. Okay, so I've assembled my montage here with the piece of music I found on APM Music, but notice I had to go in and make some edits within the music. Now that trick we have where we, you know, make stuff fit with the remix tool is great until you want to hit very specific beats in the edit. So that's what I had to do. I had to go in and find specific parts of the song that I wanted. So I started with kind of close to the beginning, and then I had to have this end piece because of how I wanted to end it. So let's take a look at what I did, and it's probably not going to look anything like what you're going to do, but at least you'll get the idea. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I chose this. I thought this might make a good transitional kind of thing here, so I might use a kind of a flash to white to transition to the Janet's room scene here. And this drone that goes underneath it, I'll probably just let that play out. So that's kind of what I've got going on here. Now picture it with lots of beeping and medical kind of sounds. When we get into the sound design portion of this and we start adding a lot of more sound effects and stuff, this will flesh out a lot better. Okay, so we've kind of taken care of the montage. It doesn't have to be very long. Notice it's, you know, less than 30 seconds long here. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here to kind of work on the dialogue scene itself. So let me take this, and I've got everybody on their own tracks on the audio side, but maybe as we start putting in our insert shots and our reaction shots, I might start putting people on their own video tracks as well. So this one I've got Bob and Janet, so I'll just leave it on Bob's track there. And this is the doctor, although it's kind of just this is a cutaway, actually. It's cutting away from the main action. So I would probably use that kind of and come back to Janet here. So this cutaway here, I might put on the doctor's track, but maybe move it over here to where we're...
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future. Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Maybe when she's finished, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, here's the doctor. So we're going to hear her say that. And let's see the doctor starting to come in. So we've got this shot. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to put an in point right there. And let's see. Let's find. There he is coming in. So here's the doctor coming in. Now, I want this audio. I want to put that down a little further. Maybe put it down on the doctor's track for now. And let's move him up to his track here, this video part, and I'm going to move this over.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
I'm sorry about that, honey. Now, that's where he comes in.
Fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
Oh, here's the doctor. Let me get that working for me here.
Fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
Ah, here comes the doctor. Okay, so instead of having this blank area where he's not even showing up here, I'm going to go ahead and trim this back to where we actually see. Now notice I'm using this trim tool here. Let's actually see his face coming around the corner, and then we'll move that back to that area there. Let's watch it again.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
So as he starts reaching up, I might cut to the master shot at that point. So here it is in my rough cut here. I've got my master shot down here. This is the master shot here. I'm going to move it down here. So when he first comes into the room, he starts reaching up. Right there is where it happens, when he just starts reaching up. So I actually want to cut that portion of the shot out and move this over here.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
All right, so we're starting to get some stuff here where there's a little bit of overlap here. And this is just going to have to be something you figure out as you move along here. So maybe while that sound of the curtain is still going, I might cut back to a shot of Janet just sitting there. So we've got this shot of her here. But, you know, we really want maybe a shot where before it starts dollying. So unfortunately, you know, when we made our rough cut, I didn't really find a shot that matched that. So I might have to actually go back to the raw footage and find something like that. So let's look in Janet's room here. There's Janet, close up Janet. Okay, there's a couple of just where she's just kind of sitting there, and I didn't pick those for my selects reel. So something like that maybe, where he's just something to kind of make that transition there. So I'll put that on Janet's track. And here we go. All right, let's play what we've got so far.
Action.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Here comes the doctor.
Okay, so now we're getting into it. Now the doctor has his lines here. And let's put him up on his track here just to, again, we can hold down Option and put him up on his own track there.
The results of your
Okay, so now we're actually getting into some dramatic speaking and stuff like that. So we want to kind of expand this a little bit. I don't want to put in music at this point just yet. I want to get my dialogue down the way I want it. So looking at this shot, the way it played out there, I want him to pause a little bit before he starts speaking. So with my ripple trim, I'm going to kind of ease him back a little bit to where there's just a little bit more of him pausing before he starts speaking.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
What I'm going to do is go ahead, I'll just start with my rolling edit here. I want to look at him specifically before he starts saying his next line. And before he blinks. Just there. I think that's enough pause.
Your test came back, and I have some bad news.
Okay. So now we need a little shot of Janet. She's down here. We want her getting her news here. So let's move her over.
Your test came back, and I have some bad news.
When is it?
I'm afraid it's you have bronchial.
Okay, we might want to give her a little bit of a pause before that.
Came back, and I have some bad news.
Okay, she ended a little nod there. I don't want her nodding. She's not aware of what's going on just yet, so I might pull that back. Let's take a look at from there here.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news. Some bad news.
When is it?
I'm afraid it's you have bronchial.
Okay, I wouldn't worry so much about the audio here. We're going to fix that in just a bit. We're looking at the pacing at this point.
Back, and I have some bad news. Some bad news.
When is it?
I'm afraid it's you have bronchial.
All right, that looks like a good enough pause. Then I'm going to bring the doctor back in. And I want to use this shot here, the good take on this. So I know it's on this same area here, so I'm going to hit F on my keyboard, and that brings us back to our doctor here. Okay, we've got his line.
I have some bad news.
When is it?
I'm afraid you're from.
Isn't it? When's it?
He's looking down at her still, so maybe right in there.
When's it?
I'm afraid it's you have a bronchial carcinoma.
What is that? That's it.
Yeah, I don't want him looking up
What is that?
just yet. I don't want that movement there. Maybe right there. And I'll overlay that there. I'm going to put him on his track here. Let's make sure that his audio goes down here as well. We're going to hear a little overlap of dialogue from Janet's shot here, but that's okay. Again, this is all going to get fixed here in a little bit. We're looking for pacing for our video.
And I have some bad news. Some bad news.
When is it?
I'm afraid it's you have a bronchial carcinoma. I'm afraid it's
What's that?
you have a bronchial carcinoma, and I can refer you.
Okay, now this might be a situation where we want an earlier part of Janet's dolly shot here. So we may actually do a little trick where we split that video track right there with our razor blade tool. And I might bring bring that over a little bit. So we got a little bit of movement. here.
Carcinoma. You have a bronchial carcinoma.
What's that?
What is that?
It's lung cancer.
Okay, so that gives us, remember, we're trying to build some tension here. Picture some dramatic music underneath this. So this is going to be this is the drama right here. So we're kind of expanding time here, aren't we? Okay, I've taken the dialogue scene here and I've gone through, I've added reaction shots, I've taken out any duplicate dialogue that might be on one track or the other, and I've kept the good dialogue from each person. I've put each person on their own track. So you're going to get this kind of checkerboard looking thing here. So let's take a look at what we've got. Now this is without music, so just imagine music behind it.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
What is it?
I'm afraid you have a bronchial carcinoma.
What's that?
What is that?
It's lung cancer, and I can make you some referrals to an oncologist to discuss some treatment options.
No. No, that's not possible. I came in for a cough I've had for a couple of weeks.
I am sorry.
I can't do double shifts with you like this. I mean, work is stressful enough as it is, and how are the kids gonna react? You don't deserve this.
Okay. So you may have noticed I actually started putting in some L and J cuts in here. And there's one area here I wanted to point out to you where I actually had her
Some treatment options.
kind of talking over the doctor a little bit. She is in denial of her situation here. So I actually have him finishing his sentence, but she interrupts right here. So you can,
Discuss some treatment options.
No. No, that's not possible. I came in for a cough I've had for a couple of weeks.
I am sorry.
okay, so you'll notice there are some awkward pauses and stuff like that. But once we add some sound effects and some music, I think all those will work themselves out. So now let's add some music. Okay, so now it's time to add some music. I think what we need to do now is join up our dialogue scene with our montage here before we do that. So let's go ahead and we'll draw a big loop around everything in the dialogue scene. Make sure there's no stray clips in there. I think we've got all the audio and the video. And I'm going to back this up until it butts up against our other piece here. So let's just drag that whole thing. Here we go. And if you've got, make sure you have your snapping turned on here. It will snap right to. There we go. All right.
So, until the machine gets fixed.
Okay, so we got that drone that kind of transitions us between those scenes. And let's do something to the visual as well, just as a quick, really quick kind of thing here. This is not a big deal, but we'll go ahead and let's put in a dip to white in there. So what I'm going to do is just drop that between those, and let's zoom in and see here what I want. I want something pretty short, maybe like 5 frames even. Let's see what that looks like.
So,
Not loving that. Maybe a little longer than that. Okay. I actually think what we need is to cut some of this out here. So I'm going to come over, just cut out that whole thing there. We're going to use our extract here. So extract gets rid of that little piece there. Now we have to be sure here, look, we've actually made an accidental cut to the music there. So let's drag that out underneath. Make sure we don't screw up our transition here. And let's try another dip to white right there. And let's go with, I don't know, 12 frames. Let's see what happens with that.
So,
That's
when the
better.
machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the.
So now let's put in some music. In the dialogue scene, you know, we don't have to have music throughout. I think that would be kind of weird. So I would listen for a dramatic moment.
I have some bad news.
Maybe after he says, "I have some bad news," we just start coming in with our music at that point. So I've got this piece of music up here. It's kind of loud to begin with, but I'll just go ahead and set an endpoint on this. And let's point it at our first music track here. Actually, you've got a piece on there, so we'll put this on the second music track because we're putting this in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and overlay that, lay that in there. Now we're kind of getting to the point where maybe we need to reach into our audio workspace. So let's change over and we'll do our quick audio thing here. All right. So at the beginning, all we have is this montage with some music. So I'm going to select that music, come over here to loudness, auto match that. And this music we just put in, I'm going to select that music under loudness, auto match that. And that gives us a little bit of, we're getting a little closer to our basic mix here. Now this is all dialogue, so I'm going to draw a loop around all of the dialogue clips. Let's make sure we have everything selected in our dialogue. Select all that there. There. Got the doctor, we got Janet, we got Bob. All right, that's dialogue. And I'm just going to auto match this for now. And we'll go back in and add some EQs and stuff when we do our formal mix on this thing. But I just wanted to kind of get us in the ballpark at this point. So let's listen to this transition here and move on.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
When is it?
All right, so that's when we start coming in. So maybe I need it a little bit lower than that. So let me adjust my volume here. I can do that in the Essential Sound panel, or I can grab the this track mixer here.
When is it?
I'm afraid it's... You have a bronchial carcinoma.
What's that?
What is that?
It's lung cancer. And I can make you some referrals to an oncologist to discuss some treatment options.
No. No, that's not possible. I came in for a cough I've had for a couple of weeks.
I am sorry.
I can't do double shifts with you like this. I mean, work is stressful enough as it is, and how are the kids gonna react? You don't deserve this.
It's like it was made for it. So that worked out pretty well. If I wanted to stretch this out or change the length of it again, we can go to our remix tool and do that. But this actually worked out pretty well. I did not plan that, but that's just kind of how it works out sometimes in editing. You have these happy accidents. So it sounds like we've got our music kind of handled. We just ended up with 2 music tracks. If you wanted to delete this third music track, you could go ahead and do that and just right click and say delete track. But now let's flesh this thing out with some sound design. So over in the sound effects area, I've given you some new sound stuff to work with here. We have some sound effects that I have downloaded from Storyblocks. And let's go here. It's in the rough cut area. We've got all kinds of medical sounds here. So I'm going to bring those in. And let's look at our first shot. We have an exterior shot here. And let's put these on the proper tracks. So to begin with, let's find City Street. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, I would probably put that, layer that on SFX 1. And it would cover all the way over to the end of this shot here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that in. And we may want to put a little crossfade there when we get to that part there. So all right, so we've got some exterior sound there. Maybe we need an ambulance going by in the background. There's some ambulance sirens. It's really kind of loud, so I know I'm going to have to bring these levels way down. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on SFX 2. Set an out point there. And I know, again, I need to bring that way, way down, maybe even there. Maybe even just a little higher. Okay, so we're starting to build some ambience up here. All right, now we're inside, so we're going to have to make a hard transition here of some sort. So we need kind of operating room ambience. I have some ambience room tone here. Office. Yeah, it kind of sounds like it could be an ER, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on Sound Effects 3. All the way until this transition here. So I'll go ahead and put that in there. All right, so it's already helping. Now we've got this pump here. Maybe we'll add something there. Let's find something that works for that. I have a ventilator here. And maybe just keep that going from there. So I can put that, just anywhere on, I don't want to cover up my ambient track there, so I'll put that in there. We'll bring it down. And let's see, what else kind of sounds like an operating room here. There, that sounds like an operating room. Let's put that maybe right at the beginning of this, and we'll maybe play that throughout this room here. So it kind of builds on that office ambience there. I'll put this on SFX 1. You bring it down a little bit. Yeah, maybe we need to duplicate this one. So I'm going to hit Command C, and we'll keep this Command V. There we go. And we'll hit Command V again and just bring that back here. And we'll put transitional crossfades between these as well once we get our layers set here. So let's give it a listen now.
So,
All right. So let's go ahead and put those transitions in here. I'm going to go ahead and Shift D to add my transitions there, and maybe at the beginning here as well. Shift D on those, and this one needs it there. This one's already got one. Okay, so now we've kind of fleshed out our montage with some sound design there. I'm going to go ahead and select all the ambient sounds here. Looks like, oops, we missed some. Shift D on those as well. All right, so let's get all our ambient tracks here. And we'll call it SFX, and we'll auto match those. And we have to go in and change our levels again now that we've auto matched everything. Yeah, we'll bring all that down. All right. So now let's add some ambient to our dialogue scene. We'll build from the ground up. We want a background kind of just ambient room tone behind everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this one. It's just room tone of a heat vent kind of thing. So it's real low. It's really subtle. You probably wouldn't notice it, but I guarantee when there's gaps in the dialogue, you're going to want to hear something back there. So we always have room tone in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. Well, again, from the ground up, I'll start that right there. And I'm just going to put that all the way to the end of that scene there. And we'll put that on SFX 3. All right.
shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
All right. Again, I can just build these as I go if I want.
Doctor.
Yeah, that's a little loud, so I would probably bring that down a little bit.
The results of your test came back, and
We want it in the background, very, very subtle, so we don't notice it.
I have some bad news.
What is it?
He's in the hallway there. I think I would like to hear maybe an announcement or something. Let's take a look at what we've got. Here's a doctor's being paged.
Dr. Valentino to the OR, please. Dr. Valentino to the OR, please.
I'm going to put that in the background there. We'll put that on SFX2. And I'll just have it come in a little bit before we see him.
I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the...
And of course, this one's going to be probably too loud. We'll bring it way down. And also, I want to give it a little reverb to give it some ambience.
I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable.
Yeah, let's go ahead with this one. Let's go to where it says creative. And we'll put some heavy reverb on it, see what it sounds like.
Probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh,
Yeah, if we wanted to just solo that, let's hear what it sounds like.
Dr. Valentino to the OR, please. Dr. Valentino to the OR, please.
And I think, there'll probably be a couple of different announcements as we go through here.
All nurses to the nurses.
Maybe I'll put that downstream a little bit. And really, I'll bring this one down much lower. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll call it sound effects, auto match it. Let's add some reverb, that heavy reverb, and bring those levels way down. So let's see what it sounds like. Maybe that's too much.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Now let's hear it in the context of the shop.
All nurses to the nurses station.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
When is it?
Paging Dr. Battaglia.
Maybe some more paging here.
It's lung cancer, and I can make you some referrals to an oncologist to discuss some treatment options.
No, that's not possible.
Okay, so now we can see it just adds a little flavor to the background here. So let's take a listen here.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
All nurses.
Okay, so we still got the sound of the curtain here. So let's find that. Oh, that's on the doctor's tractor.
All nurses to the nurses.
Actually, we just extend it a little bit. Sounds like it might work. Let's put in the effects area. Let's put a little crossfade on that in with audio transitions.
All nurses to the nurses station. Nurses to the nurses station.
The results of your test came back, and
That sounds better. And we'll do that at the beginning of that as well.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
All nurses to the nurses station.
the results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
When is it?
Okay, so we've got a little, you can kind of hear when he goes quiet, there's a little bit of silence there that we can actually hear that gap. So let's go ahead and we'll start putting exponential fades, some very short ones in here, maybe 6 frames, maybe even 4 there. That's
News. Bad news.
all right. Same at the beginning of her piece there. So there's Janet talking. So let's put an exponential fade there. Again, about maybe 5 frames. Let's see what it sounds like.
What is it?
And again, at the end of her little clip there. It's not wanting to work with me today. Okay, so you get the idea. We're going to go through here and add some transitional things and some ambience to really flesh this thing out.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
So notice that room tone in the background helped cover that transition there.
And I have some bad news.
What is it?
I'm afraid it...
Okay, so we need something there. So just go through here and clean up your audio as best as you can with this.
I'm afraid it's... You have a bronchial carcinoma.
Okay, so we're going to make sure we put these fades, these crossfades at the beginning and end of all this stuff here. There's a little click here in the doctor's dialogue here, and that's annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down my Option key and trim that back there. And let's use our exponential fade. And let's put maybe a 3-frame fade on that.
I am sorry.
All right. That makes it sound a lot better. It gets rid of that click. Okay, so we've layered several sound effects here. We put crossfades on everything, including the dialogue. So that's going to make our show sound a lot more realistic. So let's take one more look all the way through at our fine cut.
So, until the machine gets fixed, I'll probably be having to do double shifts for the foreseeable future.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes the doctor.
The results of your test came back, and I have some bad news.
What is it?
I'm afraid it's... You have a bronchial carcinoma.
What's that?
What is that?
It's lung cancer, and I can make you some referrals to an oncologist to discuss some treatment options.
No, that's not possible. I came in for a cough I've had for a couple of weeks.
I am sorry.
I can't do double shifts with you like this. I mean, work is stressful enough as it is, and how are the kids gonna react?
You don't deserve this.
Okay, so that's our fine cut. So once you get to that stage, go ahead and save this and turn in your Premiere project file to Brightspace.